Hello world, this is Truth Fire Journal, evening edition, and we're going to be covering again some really interesting cases tonight. We'll be doing some work with several people on several bubbles. So it's going to be our longest broadcast so far. So let's get right into it. I am Naiji Coach. I'm a level 53 Podler practitioner, and with me I have Naiji Glenn, also a Podler practitioner, and we'll be getting into fitness, a bubble of interest, both of us. All right, Glenn, do you have anything before I show the stuff I've read so far?
Nope.
Okay. I think any of these jog any conversation, we can go and just jam on it. All right, so let me try to do screen share here. All right. So first one up was this guy. Let me make it bigger. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, cool. So Vijay Eric Cressy. Interesting. Seems like there's like a medicine crossover. You know what I mean? Well, medicine and maybe chemistry, because I was talking to Ademus about that in another bubble. No, Mitchell about that in the STEM is like when it comes to like Nobel Prizes for chemistry, actually Vijay show up. So I'm wondering medicine and chemistry. So I'm wondering if that medicine chemistry thing like crosses over to nutrition, or at least it looks like it does.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's definitely some kind of a connection with Vijay and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
It is, and there's the GBI are there is a lot as well. But they so far from the limited data we've seen, I'm not seeing not a lot of crossover. You know, between like the nutritionists and the body. But although you gave us one before, that one Dr. GBI dude who was a nutritionist. So
right, I think that was Dr. Joe Klumzeski. Yeah, I think that's who you're referring to.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see more of that kind of stuff.
Sure, it's interesting to see. GVI, they're interesting as far as how they're showing up. I'm learning quite a bit from getting into all this as well.
Me as well. It's quite interesting. I think fitness is going to be a real interesting bubble because it seems to. Certain bubbles do this, other ones don't as much. It's one of those bubbles, kind of like acting, comedy, a few others, where you see a convergence of a few different like sub bubbles. Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like the VSI ladies here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because there's like the fitness models. When you do models, the VSI don't show up a lot, but when you go to fitness model, they do show up. That's the one area they kind of fitness models and like pro wrestling divas. So
yeah. I noticed that there's a lot of like in WWE or like the whole wrestling stuff. There's quite a few VSI and I think GVI females too, or am I mistaken on that?
There might be like one or two, but I think most of them are the VSI.
Oh, I see.
Although there's a Vijay, the daughter of Vince McMahon, the owner, and the mom also Vijay. She's a politician or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Interesting. Okay, here we go. This was something I haven't seen as much. A GVI female in the nutrition. I don't know. I think I was expecting more, maybe like Vijay because the medicine, or maybe like Nizi because like Jillian. Was it Jillian Michaels? There's some Nizi.
Right.
Is this our first one? A GVI in this fitness kind of thing?
I think so. I haven't I haven't been looking specifically at the fitness bubble, like as far as like the samples that we have. Right. But I think she might be the first one because I haven't seen any GVI females before. I don't think we have many females, and as far as fitness goes, not too many anyways. But yeah, I think she might be the first one.
The first one there, but yeah, Lionic face, the big G, but it's got, I don't know, that tighter look.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's interesting.
All right, next up, Vijay guy. He's who's this? Yeah, but if you want to tell me about these people, because I don't really know who they are other than their titles.
Right, I don't really know much about them either. I just took a whole bunch that I thought were like interesting as far as like interview media footage and just like what they're talking about. I thought I would go and just canvas a whole bunch of samples, and these are the people that I came up with. And so I'm not necessarily 100% well versed on like who these people are exactly either.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to put that out there, though. Yeah,
I appreciate it. But yeah, if you have any little tidbits or anecdotes you want to toss in anytime, please go right ahead.
Sure.
So Vijay here. Now I have seen some Vijay personal trainers, so that doesn't totally surprise me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it doesn't necessarily surprise me much either. I think Vaiji and the Jivai, they tend to show up quite a bit in as far as like conditioning specialists or any kind of like specialist kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of the middle. That's kind of the middle area they meet in. The area that seems to be the more the Vaiji that I hadn't seen any Jivai in was the medicine-y nutrition angle until that Jivai you brought in. And then the other side, like bodybuilding, I think you also brought someone in. I don't know if we've gone over it yet, but it's a Vaiji bodybuilder. And so I hadn't seen a Vaiji bodybuilder before.
oh, okay.
They'd all been Jivai. That was the first one that was not. So I was like, okay, interesting. So the Dursens do cross over a bit more than I thought. Cool.
Right. Yeah.
All right, another Vaiji. Him. This is the one. He's an ex-bodybuilder.
Oh, cool.
So until this guy right here, Glenn, I didn't have a Vaiji bodybuilder.
Oh, that's interesting. So he's Ben Greenfield, ex-bodybuilder, Ironman triathlete. Yeah, he's done quite a few things, it seems.
Yeah. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's because he's kind of like jack of all trades a little bit.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
All right, another Vaiji. Let me
Oh, so he's a Vaiji.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe Dursens. I was thinking mainly Jivai for him.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, definitely the Vi with the G, but I believe it is long.
That's cool.
And this guy, probably classic Vaiji there, a bit medicine guy. He has that. He looks almost a bit Zine-ish, because Zine.
Yeah, I think I was pretty much expecting him to probably be a Vaiji. Yeah.
Who else we got here? Okay, boom. Another one, another this Vzi. So we're starting to build some of these little sub-trends within fitness. So that's two already, so I expect to see more of this. Is she a vlogger or something?
I think she's done some. She knows a Jivai bodybuilder, Dr. Lane Norton, and they both have like this podcast that they do radio things on. And but as far as her actually making videos of herself vlogging, I don't think she has too much of that going on right now.
Gotcha.
She's a writer and stuff too, so it's.
But that's something you alluded to, is I think it's important, is that there's also the Vzi in the fitness. The Vzi and Jivai, like bodybuilding, powerlifting, and like pro wrestling. There's a few areas that those two actually kind of show up together a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who else we got here. Boom. Speaking up, Vzi dude.
Yeah, I had a feeling this guy was going to be a Vzi. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, given his, a lot of the cues I was noticing from him.
Yeah,
I was like, he seems like a Vzi. Yeah, and I was like, I don't know though. I'm kind of like debating it, but then it makes sense.
Yeah, actually, for him, I wasn't sure I'd be able to get him because he has vlogging stuff, but I needed also to have two good photos for the collage. And as you can see here, these two fuzzy ones were the best I could really get. But I think they're good enough because he's just popping out as Vzi. You know what I mean? Even a little grainy, it's like bing. Yeah.
When it comes to coming up with samples and stuff, I'll be sure to look into like pictures and stuff to make sure that there's at least two good photos.
Yeah. If we do that, but I do want to try to stretch as much as we can. That's one of the purpose of doing this. So I look forward to stretching, but that's kind of the minimum. Two decent pictures.
Yeah, already. I understand.
Here's a new one. Vijay Kelly Starrett, mobility expert.
So he's another. Okay, so there seems to be like a trend with the Vijay. I'm not sure if this is something that you might be noticing too, but mobility. And because there was the other guy too, Brett Contreras. He's also like, into. It seems to me like he's also like a little bit into like the mobility aspect, like the health, like making sure that you don't like pull a muscle kind of thing. I don't know. I kind of feel like that might be a
Could
thing.
you put that name in the chat bar? Who you're talking about? Brett Contreras?
I don't know how to spell his last name. Let me just see if I can find him.
Brett Contreras. Okay, I see here. Oh, that guy.
Yeah. I think there's a similarity there between both these Vijay males. I'm not sure.
What's that? Yeah, Breckentress is VZI.
Oh, he's a VZI.
Yeah, that's how I was just trying to clarify what you were talking about. I do believe that is G, because I think his cheeks aren't moving as much.
But right. Okay, yes, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But he does have the bright eyes and that round face as well.
Right, I see. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just throwing this out here, is the VZI male is one of my weakest areas. I mean, reading. I try to be good as best I can in general, but you're going to have differences based on experience. The VZI, just not a lot to go off of. So I look forward to revisiting cases such as like V alpha like this when I have more VZI experience.
Right.
The VZI male and the Zhi V male.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see if any more gotten here. Oh, here we go, another one. Another YouTuber, Buff Dudes, Jibai Brandon White. He has a partner, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has a brother. I think he.
Interesting enough, I couldn't get media on him. I would think since they do Buff Dudes together?
They do it together, and their dad also kind of joins in from time to time as well. He's the DIY expert when it comes to like making the certain kinds of contraptions that they use for their exercising. Yeah, but I was actually expecting G Nai for them both. I was thinking that they were a little bit, I don't know, it kind of seemed like they were G Nai, but no, actually they're G5. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think one things that the fitness bubble will have a bit more of is more of this like GQ Jibai. One thing that helped me with him is he reminded me of a few of the soap actors. So he does have that actor look. I know for myself, I have to watch out from like, fifth gear is like actually in fourth gear in a way, is that when they get like an actor quality that I don't lean towards G9, because there are Jibai actors, not as many obviously, and there was like him that he has that kind of actor look.
Right, yeah. But his eyes, you can see they're prepared. I can see
tight. And a little bit you can see, I think also that the tension around the mouth is that tighter tensioning they have.
Yeah, totally. It's quite interesting.
Another Jibai.
Yeah, I was expecting him to be one. Yeah.
Let's see any more here. Boom. Okay, that's what I have now. And that's pretty good because we're about 15 minutes in. All right. Let's then switch into actually we can talk a bit more about this. I think I know what topic that we want to talk about was intermittent fasting. I was curious what you do with that.
Oh, intermittent fasting.
Are you studying it or do you practice it all?
Actually, I think it's a great topic to want to bring up. It's not for me. I actually looked into it a little bit, and it has to do with like eating within a certain window of time, like I think 6 to 8 hours or so. You actually have all
preferably under 4 hours is the window is preferred.
Oh, okay. 4 hours.
I don't know what it is. Maybe you'll have more interest in that kind of thing, but there's some like science medicine to it that after 20 hours, like your body like starts burning more efficiently or something. I don't know.
Yeah. For me, it's something that, like I know that it's something that people use as a strategy for their dieting and their eating habits and stuff like that. I looked into it a little bit more and I started asking myself, well, how does this apply to me? Do I do this? And then I kind of looked into it and I'm like, I tend to eat majority of all my food within like a smaller window. And
you're kind of naturally doing it like an instinctual.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just doing it naturally without really wanting to try and make it happen. It's interesting because mine is not necessarily as small as 4 hours. I space out a little bit more than that, but I tend to have like 3 meals spaced out a little bit within a certain amount of time.
But still, you have it relatively short compared to most people.
Yeah, relatively short, I guess so. I mean, it's kind of interesting. The standard way of eating, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then spaced out like in that kind of a way. I have my dinner a little bit more earlier, whereas I have my breakfast and lunch a little bit more, I guess you could say, normal. But even then, my breakfast is not like really early either. I don't
later breakfast.
It's a little bit more of a later breakfast. I usually eat around 9, and then my last meal is around 5, and that's it. And then lunch is 12.
Gotcha.
That's basically it for me. And so, I mean, it's a cool idea. some people, they go a little bit too far with it and they start thinking that it has certain kinds of magical properties, I think, which I don't think I think it's great as a strategy. If it works for you, then that's awesome. But it's not necessarily going to be like because I mean, like if you're eating 2,000 calories in a day, for example, it doesn't matter necessarily how you break them up. I don't think so.
That's the sign. That's basically one of the things they say is a plus about it.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I don't have all the knowledge or know-how and all that sort. I'm just sort of like I just sort of do whatever it is that feels like it works.
Yeah, you had mentioned it, which is why I thought about it. It was that it had to come on your radar, just because you thought it reminded you it maybe of something you do naturally, or was another way?
I don't remember actually mentioning it specifically, but I did mention that Greg O'Gallagher. He's the G9.
Maybe that was it.
He's the guy that he's like really a big advocate of it. He's really someone who like talks about it a lot in his videos, and I noticed that when I was looking into media for him, because I watch him regularly once every now and then. He's one of the people that I'm subscribed to, and some of the videos I noticed that when I looked at his playlist, he has a lot of videos for intermittent fasting, and so I was like, what is this? Like let me get into this and let me see what he's talking about. And then I began to learn that he's really into it, and then when I put him as one of my samples, I put that in there like he's a fan of intermittent fasting, because I thought that was a good way to describe him. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's how I came across it from him. But I have there's another Durham. His name is Mike Matthews. We've also read him. He's an IG, and he talked a little bit about intermittent fasting as well. And he does it a little bit as well for himself. And it's just an interesting concept. It's a trendy thing, I think.
That's actually about that is about being trendy. For myself, two things that kind of made it happen for me. One is like yourself. I just naturally have condensed my eating over my life. It feels more natural.
Yeah.
And then that's become more heightened as I've over the years become more focused on putting theory out and expressing myself and mojo reading. All those things, mojo reading, creative writing, stuff like that. I find that I really like to bonus stack my clarity of mind, and when I eat, I get a little foggy. I like like that slight edginess, that real clear-mindedness, like of a hunter edginess, like I'm hungry and I'm on the trail. I find it helps when I'm reading, like mojo reading.
Yeah, I think
lethargy with the food.
Yeah, if you're all carved up and stuff, it can sort of make you feel a bit sleepy and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, eating maybe lesser carbs and more fats in your diet might help. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely
all kinds of different cuisines, but in general, I just think as far as like fasting, the difference between the human body when it has food in its stomach of any quality and any kind of variation of protein, fats, and carbs, it just handles it differently. Like your body pretty much will automatically prioritize. We've evolved this way that when you put food in, you need to work on that.
Right.
So like things like you want to like do other stuff like with your body, like for me, like say mojo, like focusing, it's like focusing is second priority to digesting food. Like the human body has evolved with like a huge priority on food processing. Like when it goes in, like it immediately puts a lot of energy into that.
Yeah. I totally relate to that from my own experience. You kind of eat and then you don't really feel like working in a way, right? I mean,
not for a bit.
Yeah, not for a little bit, and you kind of have to force yourself a little bit more if you do want to start getting into it. So yeah, I mean, I could totally understand like if you want to like shorten your window so that you get that out of the way, and then you have more time to just sort of like do the kind of stuff, do the kind of work that you actually do want to do and are more interested in wanting to get done for your for the day. Right.
So pride doesn't work for everyone. I mean, I imagine like if you have a more physical job, maybe that wouldn't work so well. But I think certain things, particularly ones being for mental focus, it helps. Oh, it's interesting that one guy, like I said, I mean, actually both of them, they're fitness people. They're like athletes. So
yeah, I think for them it's kind of a little bit interesting. I think maybe it's because they're Durhams, but it's sort of like how do you describe, like sort of a hobby kind of thing.
Gotcha.
It's not necessarily something that they do full time, as in, because I think they have their business that they're working on, which is what they're actually interested in, and they're trying to like make that big into the world. But they have like this thing that they do on the side, which is like their hobby, and they kind of like doing that because I don't know, it helps them in their life, I guess. And I don't know. I think that's kind of with the Dursans. This is just a theory of mine. I think they're a lot more into the athletic route of like actually making the job of, you know, exercising and fitness and diet and all that sort of stuff as the main focus. I don't know though. It's interesting to.
No, probably that does make sense. The other thing, just before we last few minutes, we can switch into a few of your other reads that were just general reads. I got some of those done too. But real quick, it's just mentioning the trendy thing. There is a counter argument to that does feel right to me in some ways. I don't know if it would apply to everyone, but for a hunter, I think it does. If you watch like the Nature Channel and you see hunting, particularly in like ways that are primitive, like they are what humans were doing for most of their history, as opposed to modern hunting with guns and so forth, is a general thing that happens is they don't eat. You wake up early, you get in the hunt, and you basically stay on the hunt, and then you will periodically stop for water usually. This is like all over around the world. That's just how people hunt. You just generally don't eat much when you're on the hunt. It gets in the way. And then when you get the kill, then there's a lot of eating, but then in between, too much eating actually gets in the way of getting the big food, if that makes any sense.
Sure, yeah, intermittent fasting, yeah, that sort of thing, yeah.
But I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it would work for other, say like a pilot or a gatherer. Maybe for them that, you know, gatherers maybe are eating berries all the way. You know, it makes sense for them to eat berries all day long because that's kind of their foraging.
Yeah, I think the hunter naturally thinks in terms of like long periods of waiting and anticipation for something, and then a big bolus of like food that tends to happen within a certain period of time that's really short. It's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely cool to want to learn about, for sure.
Yeah, I really think they should bring in the 4 quadrants into nutrition, because you know what I thought was, Glenn, you know, the CNC, Father Proclamation, I focus mainly on, you know, religions and philosophies and things of that nature. But actually there's other stuff, and one of them is this. Actually, as funny as, I'm almost positive that the ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph thing was an attempt to try to figure out the basic body types, because gatherers and pilots and towers and hunters, they do have very distinct body types that come up over and over and over again. There's got to be something metabolic about that, you know, from the DNA.
I think so. I mean, like your mojo is one part of it, but then it also has all these other things that come along with it that have to do with like the way that your body is shaped, I guess. And then as far as like,
there's so many ectomorphs among towers.
It is interesting, isn't it? Like I've noticed that as a trend too. It's like, why is that? Why is it that they're able to get away with, I guess, I actually haven't actually looked into this like specifically, like how many calories do they eat? But I mean, I think they're just, I don't know. It's interesting. I wish I had the data on that. It would be pretty cool to like just learn.
It would.
Yeah. I know we still need to like look into these kinds of things. So much that, you know, we don't know yet.
It's fascinating though.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, but they would definitely go for like a buy type thing. I think they messed up though, and they went with 3 instead of 4.
Yeah, I think they grouped the gatherers and the pilots a little bit.
Yes,
together, right?
Yeah, and then for ectomorph, they grouped the towers and the hunters together, and then mesomorphs, I think they actually may have combined the gatherers and pilots with that as well. I think that might also be it. I think they kind of confused those, and the ectomorph just got to be the back to the subject. I don't know. It's early in, but this is fascinating. I love when new cases. I'm like, wait a minute. I think Tyler might have something to say on nutrition. I'm like, what? I was not expecting that.
And then they go even further with like you're an ectomeso and you're an meso endo.
I didn't know that.
Oh no, they do. They go like really, and it's kind of like weird because it's like I tend to just be like, okay, just do whatever works for you, right? I mean,
Right.
if you're this type of person that can get away with eating more than you can, I guess you can eat more, but and you shouldn't get too caught up in like the type of body type you have and whatever. But like there are people that are like, I'm an ectomeso, so I have to do this and this and this, and so they kind of get caught up in that kind of way of thinking. But there's the ectomorph, the mesomorph, the endomorph, and then there's like a little bit of, you can either be a little bit more or less of like each of them. Like you have all three of them, but you have more or less of like certain versions. So it makes it a little bit more complicated.
Right, but I think that they fundamentally have the math wrong. They're working with 3s instead of 4s because natural law really put in the 4 quadrants, and the body types that go with the hunter and the pilot, it's so distinct. Like related to fitness in a way is, say, in MMA, they're really athletic, and one thing you'll see is they do pretty much the same workouts, and there's some variation there based on new science that comes in, like the stuff we're talking about, these fitness stuff. But pretty much there's a way you become a really good athlete for that sport, and the Jez hunters always look different than the G Alpha. Like G Alpha and the Z Alpha, all the pilots tend to have much more of a mesomorph build. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bigger, thicker, kind of. Yeah.
Especially in the stuff that you can't like do anything about, like the bones, because like you'll see the Jez hunters, but they have a hard time putting on muscle. But even when they do put on muscle, they never get those wrists and fingers, those heavier joints like the pilots have. That more sturdy.
That's I think there's a physical component, and then there's also a physiological component as well, as because during your pilots, they're the way that their their bodies are wired and stuff with their brain, it's different than a hunter is going to be. And maybe then we'll be able to go even further to see what are the difference between the pilots and what are the differences between the hunters. Like what makes the Naiji and the Vaiji and the Vaizi and the Vaiji all of them like different from one another. The Naiji, I would think that the Nai Alpha, they're going to have a certain, like I think you mentioned this a little bit. They're not as tight in the shoulders, I think.
They're definitely hunters.
There's something there, I think, with the Vi Alpha. They're a little bit more, and they have the hard, like for the Vaiji, they have the hard spidery gesturing. It all kind of like interweaves into their physiology and stuff that makes them different in that way.
For sure.
It's interesting to learn.
And
for sure.
Nutrition now, one of the big trends is trying to find really scientific, very kind of medical in a way, tests to figure out, like what your allergies are, what foods you should be eating. Like, isn't there there's another scale too? I think both these are actually related to, like, for sure, the 4 quadrants is the ectomorph mesomorphy thing. But there's another thing which is similar but different, where you get, like, nutritionists are all doing it. Like most of the nutritionists do it now. They take like a blood test from you, and somehow they can tell you like what foods they affect you like you naturally are just more allergic or more needing of certain foods. I don't know if it is like a, not a body type thingy, but like a dietary need thingy. Like there's also like qualia studies on innate dietary nutrition difference in needs. I don't know if that's called, but
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. But yeah, that's something that like it's very interesting to want to like get into, because it's sort of like you want to find the diet that works best for you, right? That's just interesting in and of itself. Like what, like timing, and then what do you eat? Like, and then finding like what's the most optimal for you. That's just really interesting and fun, I think.
Definitely. And it's fascinating to me that, like, something as kind of magical seeming as mojo, but it actually is just a natural phenomenon in nature. It goes down. This reassures me, like, this is cool. I was expecting, but like, it goes down into what workouts will work best for you. Because first of all, if you work a Jez Hunter out and a G Alpha out on the same thing, they'll just look different. And besides that, this gets in like a peak pathway connection to it. The really good trainers in MMA, and I'm sure everything else in the fitness bubble, they customize the workout to help you out. And Jez Hunters just tend to have, because of directive, they tend to have good fast twitch muscle, but also some good endurance. Whereas the pilots, one thing they tend to have is crazy fast twitch muscle, but endurance issues. That's the difference between the body, just in athletics, you see over and over again. And it's fascinating. Hey, Bruno.
Hey, guys.
Awesome.
Hey.
So it's time for me and Bruno to go at it. So we didn't get a chance to get into your general reads, Glenn. We'll do that next time.
Sure, no problem.
I'll be back in. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, I'm gonna get some water.
Oh, okay, cool beans.
Right.
Oh, hey, while I wait for him, let's see if we can do a little bit of stuff.
Sure. Maybe we could squeeze one in, and then there's no downtime.
That's right. No downtime. Keep on trucking with the heroics. Okay, so here we go. And screen share. So this guy, I don't know much about him. I don't know what you told me, but he's of IG. Where do you know him from? Did you just?
I don't remember. I think I just pulled some samples, and he was one of them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So by IG. Next up, this guy, Navy SEAL, Z-Vi.
Oh, I see. A Mark Divine, yeah. He's a Z-Vi. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. He's a little bit more. He's a. I think he's in the military. He used to be.
Seems like I'm just guessing the way the SEAL was. He a SEAL? Is that?
I think so. I think he talks about it. So I think he was in that.
Next up, this guy, founder of Dave's Killer Bread. Do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah. This guy, I was actually thinking that he was probably going to be an IG.
Interesting. No, he's actually a VSI. I know. Just know, there's nothing I've seen in food so far that made me think a VSI do is going to show up. I was like, what? I was like, Vijay, Nijai, Niji, Zini, Zini, anything but this. That's awesome.
Oh, man, that's interesting.
Oh, you back, Bruno? Yep. All right, cool. So we'll switch over to Bruno. That was very fun, Glenn, and we'll do some more next time.
All right, then. I'll see you guys later.
Excellent. Night. All righty. Hey, Bruno.
Hey, Coach.
Okay, so just time coding here so I can do it later. Okay, so what I have for us, well, I guess we'll do introductions first. I have Bruno with me, and we're going to be doing some stuff. I am, again, Niji Coach, level 53 in the Pod Layer Practitioner Program, and with me I have
Nijai Bruno.
And he's also a Pod Layer practitioner, and we'll be covering a little bit of music and then some general interest reads of Bruno. Alrighty, so let us look at music first. Let me open it up. Glad you can make it, Bruno.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Alrighty, let's see, screen share. Do you see it?
I see it.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. First up, by the way, Bruno, if you want to throw any anecdotes or any information out about any samples, please just go ahead and jump in whenever you like.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so first up is Les Claypool. I don't know about him. What genre of music is that? He's not IG, obviously.
Yeah, he's an IG. He does like sort of a fusion of like funk and punk and like blues. He does the South Park theme song, for example. Their band. So they're really weird. But they've been around for much longer than South Park.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Next up, I have a dozen, I think, in music. Next up, Yaz Coombs. Am I saying that right, Bruno?
I think so.
All right. Is he like? What is he? What is his style?
It's sort of like a British, sort of pretty classic British rock.
Okay. Najee, British rocker. And then we have, is it Anthony or Antony?
It's Anthony.
Okay, good. I guess right. Okay, cool. Nisha.
I believe it's actually a woman.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I know. Boom. Next up, number 4. Lauren Jurquai from Fifth Harmony. I'm assuming it's one of those girl groups.
Yeah.
Girl pop. How many people are in there? Is there other 5? I guess I'll need to get all 5 at some point.
I think I sent you a list of all the pop musicians, and it had all of them.
Ah, cool. Then we'll get them. And here's an interesting one. I don't know anything about her, but just as from the Mojo reading standpoint, is a Asian G9 music artist. This may be our first.
Yeah, I actually believe she's a TV presenter in Canada. I'm not sure if she's a music artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know her very well. I just
okay. I have to look it up. I have to look it up right now because if she is music artist, she's like our first Asian G9 music artist. But if not, it is what it is. We'll soldier on, Bruno. Let me look real quick here. Please say music. That says musician. It says musician. I'm taking it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm positive she's a TV presenter in music as well, but she's probably one of those people that does a lot of things.
Yeah, it says Canadian broadcaster. So would you say she's like a TV personality? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I thought she was.
Cool. All right. Next up. 6. Nick Fresh. Nijai Nick Fresh. I should probably say the emojis out loud.
Did you find a video of this guy?
Nope, I just went off pictures.
Pictures, yeah, okay. Yeah, he's a guy I met a long time ago. He's a DJ. Cool guy.
Nice. No, I saw, like I said, with these bubbles, we'll be going low-hanging fruit, but we can also, as we get more and more familiar with it, one of the cool things about doing bubble reading, mass reading, is that over time you can really dial in on things and work with less me than you can sometimes. You can't do it for all of them, but sometimes they pop, and I mean, he looks pretty classic Nijai to me.
Yeah. I figured you'd have an easy time with some of these, including him.
Number 7, Christian Petzold, composer. Like classical or?
I think he's a director actually. He directed a movie called Phoenix, which was it was up for a bunch of Oscars. It was a German film. I think it was up for Oscars. Either way, it was a really good film. Like really thick suspense, like about World War II. Really great film called Phoenix.
Ah, okay. Just so you know, there was also a composer, Christian Petzold, and lived from 1677 to 1733. Okay, let me fix that. That's what. Just kidding. I looked on Wiki and I grabbed the wrong one. All right, cool. Film director.
But, yeah, obviously that's the right picture.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna have to take him out. I'm sorry. He does not go in this bubble. No problem. All right, next up. Naiji QT.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was wondering if she was Naiji, which Nijez she was.
Yep, Naiji. Yeah, sometimes it's harder. Luckily, she has pretty classic Naiji face, but she's going for that more coquettish look with the bangs and the different colored hair and so forth, and funky outfits. But I see you, Huntress. I see you. Next up, another Huntress. I don't know how to pronounce that. Do you?
It's probably Teishi.
Teishi, Naiji, Teishi. Do you know her music?
I know a few of her songs, and she's more classic Naiji. You can really see it in the eyes. And,
What styles of music is it like? Europe?
It's sort of like indie dance. You know, nowadays like genres are like less important because radio is less prominent. It's you know.
Gotcha.
So everything sort of blurs together. She's like dance indie kind of thing.
Nice. I appreciate your insights. All right. Let's see. 3 more, I think. 10. Samantha Urbani. She's a DJ, but that DJ's going to music bubble.
Yeah, not really familiar with her, but she reminded me of Teishi.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's a strong riff. There was another DJ that reminds me a little of them as well.
It's
kind of like slinky, like real lean, slinky, blonde, pissed off Huntress. It really works.
Yeah. It's very cool.
It is very cool. Bam. She's definitely got some anger. I did see some video of her.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I thought she was a Nijai.
Nope, Naiji. Naiji. Interesting listening to her talk about Riff Raff. Because
Oh yeah,
they
yeah.
did a lot of collaborations together, Nijai Riff Raff.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Did they have a falling out or something? Because like she got very defensive when the people were interviewing it. Like not say her defensive, but she seemed like I guess she's fairly defensive about being asked about does she hang out with him anymore and why aren't they collaborating like they used to?
It's you know it's your typical like thing where people get thrown into the spotlight and they don't really know how to deal with it. Her Nijai creation, Nijai Riff Raff, they've all worked together at some point, but they've all sort of went their separate ways, and they all have sort of like different talents and personalities, even though they do very similar music.
Yeah, that's how it is for artists.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're cool, like with each other. It's just like when you're in the spotlight, every little thing you say about one another gets blown up. Like people want to see conflict, you know. It like it's like something people look for, so it just gets blown up way out of proportion.
Yeah, I think people, they go to the arts a lot and the artists that make art to get like a drama fix. And so I think sometimes they see they can't tease out more drama. You know what I mean? They like to hear it. Although artists often do sell the drama of their lives. So, I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah, for sure.
This is great. It's good talking about high level stuff, how it affects the things. That's one of the things I like doing about bubble reads is you kind of also see how that bubble influences the world. Because it's like a mechanism or organism, you know what I mean, social kind of construct that's like developed over the years to fill a need, even though people don't know what's happening for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a cells in a large organism. It's pretty crazy.
All right, that might be all of them. Yep. All right. So that is what I had for the music artists.
Cool.
So if you get any more music artists, go ahead and send them your way back. But I believe that's everything I had from you. But if
I sent you an email with like at least I think I must have sent you about 30 or 40 of them.
Can you resend that? I don't think I must.
I'll pull it all together and resend it. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate that. No, because I definitely want to get everything you send my way. I want to get on it.
I think you got those from the riff thread, the speculative riffs.
Ah, okay. So yeah. So please send me what else you got.
But those actually were the ones I wanted first. So that's good. That really helps me with the riff thing.
Okay. Cool. All right. So now we're going to switch into some other requests you had, some general stuff. All righty. See here. I'm going to screen share. Let me know if you're seeing it coming up right now. Do you see?
Yep.
All right. Boom. Okay. First one I got for you is Vizai Veronica Avlov. You did request her, right? That's what I had in my records.
She was in the riff thread. I think you got all these from the speculative riff thread.
Cool. Good. That's I was trying to fill out all the stuff that you're kind of playing with in your head. So Vizai, adult film star, not too uncommon, obviously.
Sure.
Well, who'd you ever riffed with?
Vijay Jane Mansfield.
I can see that. But I believe that's G there.
Yeah, that makes sense. It was like the hairstyle. It's more of like a makeup and hairstyle kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, that's something too is kind of take into account is Vizai. A lot of times, a lot of our samples have been in sports. But there is also the adult film stars. There's also fitness models, and there's also wives of like VZ politicians, and they go much more for like the glam. And there are actually, although they're not so much in modeling, there are some VZ that show up in beauty pageants. I'm not sure what the difference between a beauty pageant and modeling is, but the VZ don't tend to go into modeling as much as beauty pageants, except for fitness modeling. It's another one, Nizy Brittany Furlan. Was she someone you were riffing?
I may have sent that to you in an email with a list of vloggers.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
That makes sense. So Nizy, she's pretty classic.
Yeah.
I see a few different ones. I can't think of their names right now, but she definitely seemed pretty classic. I've seen that look before. All right, next up, Bijay Ananda Lewis.
Oh, this one is a riff of Tatiana Ali from Fresh Prince.
Bam, you got that one. Nice, I can totally see that. All right, Model and activist. I wonder what she's an activist for. So a lot of those VJI sometimes like activists for like anti-bully or animal cruelty, stuff like that. I wonder what her thing is.
Yeah, it's not different from Nijai actually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Although Nijai tend to get a bit more like aggressive with like feminism and things like that. I don't see Vijay tend to get a stride. Nijai and Z9 ladies kind of hang out with feminism. They both get down on that.
Yeah.
All right, Naiji John Cameron Mitchell.
Oh man, yeah. This guy made a movie called Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and
I heard about that. What's that? Was it? Did you see it?
Yeah, yeah. My first girlfriend really loved that movie. Like at first I was like, this is kind of weird. It's like about this guy who's like, he's a transsexual rocker and he's like trying to figure his way through life and, yeah. But it's basically this really like glammed out like disco rock 70s film, and she loved it. She was like, you got to watch this. And at first I was like, I don't really get it, but it's kind of cool. And then she would like quote it all the time, and eventually it just got in my head, and I was like, this movie's awesome.
I've heard the movie referenced a lot. I mean, it's considered a cult classic, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's like a new generation Rocky Horror kind of thing.
Gotcha. So would you say that over time you grew to appreciate its genius?
I mean, absolutely. Like, I mean, at first I liked the music right away. The music was great right away, but the story it's like that's a little strange, but okay, cool. And over time it just got inside my head.
Oh, what kind of music was it?
It's sort of like think like disco cabaret, like the movie Cabaret.
Yeah.
But that's really old fashioned. More like a modern version of that.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. Let's see. Go back to the document here. Dun, dun, dun. This person, Jinai Aiden Young.
Yeah, I suspected that he's in a TV show called Rectified.
Okay.
And he plays a guy who's been put away in solitary confinement. He's been convicted of a murder, which it's not clear if he committed or not, but he seems innocent and confused. He seems more like a victim than anything, and he plays like this sort of like really wounded animal, caged animal, really well. And like his eyes were particularly interesting. It seemed like I couldn't tell if it was haunted Naiji or haunted Jinai or like far back Naiji.
I can see that. Yeah. He's got the fullness and the overall, G going up in the eyes, and crinkling, but he's very haunted looking, definitely. Help me with him, actually, who had the similar quality is the actor Simon Baker from The Mentalist. Has the kind of haunted look a lot. And there's another one I'm thinking of too, James Purfoy. They don't look alike, but they had that haunted look, just the haunted look.
Right. Yeah. I haven't seen that show. I need to check that out.
It's good. I enjoyed that. It's one of his Johnny Nice favorites. All right. I think I got one here. Another Jinai, Ronald Zerfeld. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. He's a riff of the previous one, Aiden Young.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
That's where I found him. Yeah.
Ah, good. Another one you got there. Nice job.
Yeah, I figured they were like both the same mojo. He is in Phoenix, the movie that Christian Petzold directed. The one that I was talking about. It's set in World War II. It's about a woman who has been through the concentration camps, and she's been like horribly disfigured, and she got facial reconstructive surgery. And she goes back to her husband, who is played by that guy, the second Jinai, and he doesn't recognize her. So she basically like has to like meet him again. And she's a Nizai.
That pairing happens a lot, doesn't it? Jinai was Nizai.
Yeah. It's just like Jaini with Nizi.
Yeah.
It's like the other side of that.
That's true.
But yeah, so it's really intense. I mean, obviously being set in World War II about like the Holocaust and all this stuff. Right. But it's sort of the playoff between him and her, because it's not clear if he gave her up to the Nazis. And the whole time she's been through this whole situation that like she's basically like a completely different person after this. And
this a movie or a series?
It's a movie called Phoenix.
That's right.
I'll post a link to it. I think it won a bunch of awards. It was up for several Oscars, maybe.
And you saw it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Definitely, really, really good. One of the best of last year.
John and I are always looking for good movies, and we like indie stuff and foreign film and stuff. So that's cool. All right, we have a few minutes left. That's what I have as far as stuff. So last few minutes here, do we want to try to do a read? Is there anyone you're interested in? You can pop them in and take a look at them.
Oh, cool. Look, this here. Oh, how about Ella Fitzgerald, the jazz singer?
How's media going to be on that?
Fair. There's some videos. She's a little bit older, but
Good.
there's at least one really good quality video.
I'll see what we can do. Because I have her down in the Rosetta Stone as limited media, but I'll give it another go. Maybe it was a while ago. I looked at her. You're putting it into the playlist?
I can do that, yeah. So I just have to enable the plugin, the videos. And I believe there may be a better one.
This one's useful though.
Okay, I have a better one. Let me know if you want to
Okay.
hear these change.
Let's put the better one in first, and then we come back to this one.
Okay.
She's older here, but it's a little clearer.
One of my first big hits was the Tea Leaves and My Happiness. And then after that came the...
The glasses hide the eyes a bit.
Yeah.
But you can see the emoting well.
One of the reasons you're here.
The glasses do limit how much I can see it going up the face, but it does look like G to me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. G Alpha?
I'm not sure. Possibly, quite possibly, but the glasses are giving me a little bit of issue. I may want to look at the other film after this to kind of dial in on that.
Okay, there's...
I'm sorry, what's that?
The pictures of when she's younger are pretty different.
Yeah, I was looking. That's what I'm saying. I was trying to. I was looking at those.
Okay.
The pictures look rather quite possibly like a G alpha, but look at the video here. I'm not sure if it's her age in this. It might not be. It might be drone. It might be drone I'm hearing, but she is older, and that might be something to do with there as well. So let's put the other video in. I think it's fuzzier. It might be more helpful for the things I'm looking at.
And I have yet another video. It's very clear, but also very short. So I'm gonna put that on right now if you don't mind. I can't hear you. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
The hands are interesting.
They don't say oh Fitzgerald anymore. They say
Okay, so one thing is that it's a bit grainy here, but one thing I am able to see, she seems to have like a fullness to her that makes me think objective, and I still think I'm hearing that drone even though she's younger here, so I'm pretty sure I'm hearing drone.
Yeah, I would be I'm seeing. I feel like I'm seeing Jivai.
I do too. Let's put one more video on to confirm, but that's what I think I'm seeing from the pictures in these two videos. Oh, this is great. This is great.
well, I think actually what happened, we won.
Full face, Lionic.
The manager felt Naomi Grant felt
She juts a lot. This looks like a pilot.
Was to prove that our point.
Not just a lot, but she's firm with it.
We had tickets on the airline, and also to
Very sensitive though.
prove that.
That's an interesting thing about the Jivai, some of the music artists, is several of them are quite shy. You know, you think Jivai, you just don't think shy, but they actually can be rather, artistically sensitive.
Yeah.
Hey, Mitchell.
Hi.
All right, Bruno, I'm going to go ahead and call that. We're going to say Jivai in that. I feel pretty good about that.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. All right, Bruno, excellent session. We got a lot covered there.
Yeah, it's interesting. She works with Nijai Louis Armstrong a lot as well.
Interesting. Yeah.
Have we ever read her before?
We just read her now. I tried to read her before, but I couldn't get good enough media. But I think that may have been.
Yeah, she seemed familiar to me.
Yeah, she's one I really wanted to get because she's really she's quite a big name. She's a mega legend. But I feel better now about calling her Jivai. I think I've always suspected that, but I feel like I can call it now.
Cool.
Hi, Bruno.
Yeah, some of these videos might be newer. Maybe they weren't around when you tried.
Could be, because this video here is excellent. This one really helps. All right, Bruno. That was a great session, and I'll see you on Sunday. And if you can send those things on me again in the email, that'd be great. I'll make sure I get on them.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Totally. Have a great night. Hey there, Mitchell.
Hey.
All right. So I have with me Mitchell. So we'll do introductions real quick.
Oh, my turn?
I'll go
You
first. I am Naiji Coach, level 53 in the Pilot Layer Practitioner program. And with me I have
Naiji Mitchell, and I'm level 24 in the Pilot Layer Practitioner program. I did calculate that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So Mitchell and I are covering the bubbles of tennis and STEM together, and I'm sure we'll do many more after that, but those are the first two we're tackling. I figured we would start with tennis again, if that works.
Fine.
All right. Let's get into it. Tennis. Here we go. Open it up. Glad you can make it.
Glad I can make it.
I really enjoy this. Okay, so let me hit the screen share. Tell me if you see it. Coming up now.
I see it.
All right. And so, Mitchell, if you know any nuggets about any of these individuals, like how they play or personality or their love lives, anything at all you feel like throwing in, please, just by all means, jump in.
Okay.
All right, so the first one I have for you is, let's see, not him.
He looks familiar.
He did him, so let's see, bam, here we go. Now the first one is probably the most interesting one in the whole batch.
Yeah.
YZ.
I have seen a few Vizi. They're pretty rare.
Pretty rare.
But mostly, there's a few males and females.
Four males though, right?
The males, there's Andy Roddick and the Bryan brothers. Bryan brothers are one of the best, maybe the best doubles team of all time, which is interesting.
Isn't there another guy,
There might be more. Yeah.
famous like from back in the day, like Swedish or something?
Oh, Bjorn Borg.
Yeah.
Gosh, I forgot that. Yeah, Bjorn Borg, Chris Evert, Vizi. Yeah, they tend to have this very like steady almost like mechanical sort of game.
Mm.
But it can be very, very effective.
How would you compare that to the Xi-V? Because that's a quality I would think, maybe just imagining it with without data, just imagining that they would both share that. How does that?
They might share it in a way. I know, like with a lot of. One thing with the Xi-V, I think there's some more diversity in a way. I've been thinking about this, like what exactly some of the differences are between the Mojos and the Xi-V. When you talk about Xi is like bonus stacking, that's something Xi is really good at, and I think that really applies to Xi-V. They tend, except for like the really, really good ones like Novak Djokovic, who are maybe more diverse, they tend to be really, really good at something, and just use that as like a trump card. Like there's some Xi-V that are like, they actually aren't that steady. They're like super powerful servers, and they can just, I mean, they're really steady at that. Like they're going to win all their service games and pound the ball, and so they can take risks on their return games and stuff like that, like John Isner. And then there's some that are just really fast and never miss the ball. They don't have as many weapons, though. Whereas ViZ, I guess, I don't. There is some similarity, because the one ViZ, Andy Roddick, is the best server of all time.
I don't know,
which is interesting.
What makes someone? I really don't know. I have just I know from watching like tennis comedy movies over the years. What makes a great server?
Aces, how hard he hits to serve, how many just literally the statistics of how many points he wins on his serve and his service games.
Right. I assume it would be points he accumulated, but I was wondering like why does he get those points? What makes him so difficult?
Because his service is just extremely powerful, extremely precise.
Power and precision. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And I was wondering because like in I don't know I know so little, but I know like in like ping pong that there's power and precision, but there's this third element which is you can put like I don't know French on it, English on it, I don't know what the word is for it, but it spins it, and apparently that can also be another element.
That is huge. Yeah, lots of players use all kinds of spins. Andy Roddick. Yeah, he just has a very he isn't playing more, but I mean in his day, obviously he could do all kinds of serves. But yeah, a lot of the best servers, they're gonna mix those up. Although a lot of these other like really big ViZ who just pound these really flat serves, they just hit a really heavy serve. It's almost impossible to return. Someone like Federer, Nigel Roger Federer, he's a little more crafty with his serve. He does more, but there's some Xi-V like that too.
How much spin, like curvature, can one put?
Quite a bit, and it also depends on what your handedness. That's a big factor. In fact, that throws people off. Lefties in particular. I know John McEnroe is very famous. He's a shiny, I think, for his spin serve. And you can like when there's spin serves that people like kick off the court. There's spin serves that people put like top spin on, so they kick up when they hit the ground. That's more common for second serves because you can punish it more easily, but they're also more consistent because the top spin keeps the serve in.
That's because, am I understanding correctly, that's because you have two chances to serve, and so when you have two chances still left, you use a different strategy versus when you only have one of your chances left?
Exactly, yeah. People tend to be more aggressive on the first serve. They tend to win more points on their first serve and take more chances.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you very much. All right, let's get back to samples here. Get another one for you. I think I got a dozen for you today.
Yeah, it's interesting to compare like the steadiness of the ViZ versus the steadiness of the Xi-V. I wonder what some of the differences there, because there is an element to that. I see what you're saying. There.
Yeah, I would assume there'd be being sub-tracks that they would have a lot of crossover, but being directive and adaptive, it's got to be some major differences too. Mm-hmm. Next up, Xi-V, pretty classic. Look at the left. He's full on G. Those cheeks don't move. No, it goes down.
Yeah.
That's some of the things I really take away from the tennis bubble is like this primal Xi-V G scream with the cheeks not moving.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
One thing I also like about tennis is one of the most international sports. So I'm getting there are a lot of Xi-V mainly, but a lot of different nationalities, which is great.
Yeah, like tennis, soccer.
Number 3 is Alana Bondarenko.
Yeah. And that was one other thing we discussed last time. It seems like there are a higher percentage of Vzi in the females.
Wonder why that is.
Whereas the males, it does seem to slant. I mean, there are those mojos in the males, but it seems more concentrated Xyv.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious why that would be. The only I can think maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to keep studying. Boom, another Xyv. Pretty classic. Juancella. Do you know anything about him? What nationality is that?
Juancella. Yeah, that sounds familiar to me. I don't know a whole lot about him then.
Next up.
You might have I've heard of.
Is he good?
Yeah.
I've seen most of them are good, but I mean, is he like considered like real good or medium good?
I'd say medium good. I mean, he's not like a top ranked player, but I've seen him in some big tournaments.
Okay.
Slam. Let's see what's going on in the world right now.
Let's see. Xyv Radu Albert. Radu. What does? He has a bit of broader cheeks than some of them.
He does.
But still, they're going to localize. That's one thing helped me with him, for example, is that when they have these broader cheeks, the Xyv, sometimes you might think it's a Zvi. The other is a Vez, because is it a pilot?
Yeah.
I can tell it's localized, very localized, but it's broader. But the one thing is I forget who was telling me about this. But someone told me the other day, but we were mentioning is like the sweetness. Oh, it was Odemus this morning actually. We were talking about chess, and it was funny that even though a lot of the chess guys were looking Xi and very serious, and they have polar G, there's a sweetness that the G gives off separate from. Well, I guess the Xi does too, but it's different. You know what I mean? It looks like delighted or something in a certain way.
But specifically Xi Alpha?
Yes, still Xi Alpha, like this, like.
Yeah.
It
because
does
it's not
have
maybe
this
as pushing, because it's an adaptive doing it.
Yeah, because like for the Zvi, like in soccer, there's a lot of Zvi guys and girls, and some of them do have like a sweet-looking Xi as well. It just doesn't look quite the same.
That's interesting.
Base awareness, like a sweet, aware look. I mean, that's we were looking for. Because me and Demas were kind of noting we weren't quite sure exactly what we were saying. We were feeling around for it. All right, Benjamin Becker, not related to the other Becker.
Yeah, I've seen him around. Yeah, it's pretty funny that he has that name. But I mean, literally, Boris Becker.
Yeah, and he's German as well. I guess it's a German name, but poor guy. It's like that's a lot to live up to, and I'm not even related to him.
Not even the same mojo.
Nope. Is Benjamin Becker like medium good or?
Yeah, he's in that. He's around that same level too. Yeah, a lot of these guys we're reading are probably around then, probably in the top 100, but not really like one of the top players.
Yeah, that's why you're out ground motion.
And so they show up from time to time in Grand Slams, but maybe not as consistently.
Gotcha. Number 8. Another Vzi. Well, maybe it's just a common name, Bodarenko, but she may be related to the other Vzi lady.
Huh.
I'm not quite sure how common that is. They both look obviously like Vzi, but she is even more classic.
Yeah.
Cheshire Cat there on the right.
There's another Vzi lady. There's
Ivy.
Yeah, I've seen her more lately.
She's an up-and-comer?
I think so. I think she's younger.
It's interesting. She was one. She was very kind of interesting to me because she seemed clearly Xyv, but she was riffing a lot. I guess the way she handled herself is a little different than some of the other Xyv. She's reminding me of those Naiji and Zaini models. She kind of has a bit more of a model look to her. Although I don't know how much she plays up to that, but.
Yeah, it seems like there is some Xyv tennis players like that have that kind of way of portraying themselves.
Yeah, I guess the reason why it struck me, Mitchell, is because they don't show up in modeling.
Yeah, Xyv don't really show modeling, and like you can't really can you really think of like a mojo reason why that wouldn't be? I mean.
No, I not really.
Yeah.
Other than the V's eye also don't show up as much. You know what I mean? A lot of the other adaptive females show up in, well, all the neurons, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have a reason for that. Yeah, I'm just kind of noting.
What about modeling appeals more to knee than V?
Could be. Interesting. So yeah, one of the things we'll do is we, whenever you work a bubble, is you kind of just ask a lot of questions as you notice trends without trying to like say what they are, but it's good to kind of note them like, okay, so that's going on. Not sure what it means, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
Ah, an IG. Damn. It's Dustin Brown. Please tell me he's good. Is he good? Yeah.
I think he's newer.
Okay. All right, come on, Nigel. You got to represent.
Let me see if I can find him in the rankings. Dustin Brown.
All right.
The American Dustin Brown?
Izzy.
IV.
We got another IV, Steve Darcis. Pretty classic. Tennis has been a huge earner for us with IV.
Yeah.
And last one, James Duckworth. Interesting with him, he looks pretty straight, you know, Zy-V to me, but he has some things going on that are interesting. On the right, I don't know, something about him, he could be mistaken easily, I think, for an IG on a quick look. But it is localized, but it's like, it's neat to see, like, because just the way he's kind of styling himself. Kind of like, you know, some of the Zy-V, he's not doing that thing. He's doing more like the GQ and IG thing, in a way. But there's also the, you know, the kind of feral Bammy Zy-V. They're quite common in tennis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some Zy-V that have more Nye development and often have like kind of more wily, trickier sorts of games.
And then again, on the left, it might look real briefly like it's a Z-Vi because, you know, he's literal and logic-based. You can tell it right away, but it's broad.
Mm-hmm.
That's a wearmouth. I see you. All right.
Oh, so Dustin Brown right now is ranked 101.
All right, you got to work on that. Work on it, Dustin.
But yeah, he does look like pretty new. So
all right.
Be seeing
so, moving on to STEM. We're
getting more night tennis because Federer's not doing as well now. He's getting old.
Oh. Yeah, well. Come on. You can do an IG. All right, let's see who we got here in STEM. Open it up, and then screen share. All right, you can see it?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what I got for you on this. Rebecca Allen. I don't know if you know her.
Yeah,
you know her
I don't, but she looks like the research director of the company Nokia.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, we seem to be seeing more of these like Nijai in like being like the heads of like research department of like big companies.
Yeah, cutting edge companies. There, was it Marissa Mayer? Or
Marissa Mayer. She's like Yahoo or something, or was for a time. I don't know if she is anymore. I don't know. But yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. And there was one on a quiz recently who was like did like this. I think it was like a medicine company of some kind.
Interesting.
And a lot of people were thinking she was Xeni.
Okay, that jogs a bell. Next up, got Nizai for us. Bam. Nobel in physics. He's interesting because he's pretty classic Nizai all around, except he looks like he's got a lot of Zai and Vi.
Mm-hmm. It does seem to be a very common thing. These Nizai, they look very, very dialed in.
What else we got? IG, chemistry again.
Interesting.
Like on the left, funny the left. Like if I didn't know who, I mean, didn't know who he was from the list. Like I would have thought like that looks like a Vigi politician. On the right, on the left, he looks like a Vigi politician. On the right, a little bit like a Vigi journalist. But nope, he's neither one.
I can see why you see so many Vigi in these, or like what literal measures.
I'll get a Ziny, physics.
Yeah.
Media wasn't great on him. As you can see, that second picture a little fuzzy, but he looks pretty classic to me.
Mm-hmm. Hardcore.
I think I know what I was looking for. Sweet, that kind of sweet, the polar sweet values based. With the Jai, it's like a sweet pursing of the lips. But with the Xi Alpha, it's like a sweet pucker because it's aware. The G pucker, he has like the little, but it's very localized and often thin lip too. Aha.
Yeah.
This one's a pretty big one. Naiji Selmer Bringzord.
Yeah, he's one of the ones I gave you.
Aha.
Just recently.
Yeah, but you see the eyes penetrating in the ad serves.
Sort of like tracking you. Interesting. I wasn't sure what to expect.
This one was more challenging for me. He has a fuller face, particularly in the pictures. In the video, he moves more like an IG, and also he's a bit leaner in the face. I'm not quite sure why that is. Do you know anything about him?
Not this guy, no.
All right.
I don't know who the ammunition group is. But he sounds interesting.
More famous, sir. Next up, he just jumps out as an IG. Marshall Caps.
Yeah.
It looks more like one of those indie IG artists with their flannel shirts from Seattle. All right, Nizai. Pretty classic, but I always like getting different ethnicities in there. So cool, pretty classic Nizai Asian male sample.
Yes.
Now he has some of the Nizai scientists obviously have a lot more like the Zion vibe, but him, I really see the knee. Even here, older on the left, a lot of he looks very knee heavy. One thing I have noticed though is that the knee tends to be stronger in physics as compared to the other places.
Like chemistry, economics, or Vi. Yeah. I agree with that.
Vaji, again in chemistry. Again, if I know he was a chemist, I would think this was like a journalist or something.
Yeah. Feels like a decent knee, but
yeah, he does.
You feel like creeping out there.
Diane Fossey. Dun dun dun.
Oh, nice, wow.
Yep. She's did a lot of good. She also did some kind of controversial stuff. A lot of times IG do that, make contributions, but also can be very controversial.
Always. Well, not always.
Yeah, sometimes just good controversial. Some of the stuff she did was like, oh, that's pretty sketch, lady. But she did a lot of contributions too. Ziny. The media, not a lot to work with, is an older sample, but pretty classic. Something about the lips, they're smaller, but they remind me of Jim Parsons.
They do. And some of these Ziny, there's this riff of Ziny that have like these really like standout foreheads.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, the Xi Alpha, both of them, also the Xi V and Tem, is something they have the long forehead, and I've looked for that in the Xi Alpha. They also have that, but it doesn't seem to be as much.
Interesting.
Because I know when I looked into the Xi Alpha, I'm like, oh, they have it some too. But it really became known to me with the Xi Alpha.
Yeah, it makes them look very cerebral.
It does. All right, last one. Boom. Ziny, David Gross, Physics.
Yeah.
Bam. All right. So that is what I have for you, sir.
All right.
We have time left. Do you have someone you want us to read?
That's a good question. There's probably someone I can think of. Let's see. Let me look at the ones in the press. Sent you. I have a list I'm looking at right now.
By the way, also, we can talk more about STEM if there's anything that's on your mind or that you think is going on interesting in that world right now. Have there been any major developments, like technological, science-wise? I haven't seen
there's always stuff going on, and I don't always pay attention to the news all that well, but one thing I know that happened recently, I don't remember how long ago it was, maybe it was a few months, but there was the detection of gravity waves.
I heard it come up. Can you tell me a little bit about why that's such a big deal?
Well, it's the thing Einstein predicted them so long ago. And there's been speculation that they would be found for a long time. People have been looking for them. There's been a lot of theoretical work done, and there's research groups. Like there's this one lady, Jan 11, who we read, whose research is based on like listening to the universe and the sounds to kind of learn about its structure. And so the fact that they finally discovered is like really a relief for a lot of these people. And it's just cool because there's so much in physics going on that is so theoretical, like string theory and all these other kinds of.
So that's why
there's not as much experimental evidence for it. So to get like a really big actual discovery like that is always really awesome.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was wondering, like when you said that about the gravity waves, I was like, I thought that was sort of expected. But when when I saw it in the news, that's why you kind of explained to me is like it being such a big deal that it's now being verified. Yeah, it makes sense because it's usually such a theoretical fields. Were there people that were disputing Einstein's theories without this evidence?
Probably not so much in the. I mean, there are people out there who dispute Einstein's theories, but they're pretty fringe at this point. His theories are pretty established. So yeah, I guess that's probably not too big of a contingent. But obviously, people are looking for a unified framework and everything, and Einstein's theories are still a problem in that area because there's still the quantum mechanics relativity issue that still hasn't been solved. So that's why we have these. That's why it is so theoretical, because we still haven't been able to solve that one yet. And I don't know that this gravity waves discovery. I don't know how much progress it makes in that, but it is a big deal, and it could teach us a lot empirically about the universe that we might not have been able to learn before.
If you were to kind of give like just like a quick blurb, like a crash course, what would you say is like some of the just fundamental problems of unifying quantum mechanics with gravity theory?
Let's see. So relativity, the theories are just conceived so differently. Like relativity is almost this like classical theory that sees space as this sort of continuous thing that bends and stuff like that, whereas quantum mechanics, everything is discrete. So for whatever reason, that makes them very hard to mesh.
Can I ask a question there? Because this is one of the things I've heard come up in different discussions, is that the way particles move around, and this maybe this is what you're referencing, at the subatomic level, the quantum mechanics level, it does so in a way that violates rules of gravity theory, where gravity theory cannot explain why those particles move in those ways. It seems unpredictable or something when you try to look at it with gravity theory. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. And obviously quantum mechanics, I think is the theory anyway is probabilistic. You can predict things really well but you can't. I mean, there's the uncertainty principle. The more you know the position, the less you know the momentum and energy, and the more you know the momentum, the less you know the position. And so it's a very probabilistic theory, whereas relativity is deterministic. There's all kinds of problems.
Yeah, that's fascinating, because you would think the scientific sort of method would kind of force a unity through experimentation, but it's almost like they're operating by separate experimental parameters.
Yeah, it's like the levels are so different, because relativity really, I mean, people still use Newtonian mechanics for most things in physics because it's such a good approximation. I mean, it really is like that good for most things, unless you're like approaching the speed of light.
Okay.
Like once you're a significant, then that's when relativity starts mattering. Whereas quantum mechanics That's just going on everywhere. It doesn't matter what speed you're going at. And another area where they're difficult to mesh is the beginning of the universe, because relativity, that starts mattering when you start getting at very, very high energies. Quantum mechanics starts mattering where you get into those effects start mattering when you get into the very, very small. That's the beginning of the universe, and they make very different predictions. So I don't know the details of that. Or I probably did at one point, but that's one of the other big areas, just saying, like a cosmological problem.
Yeah, so I guess my last question that I'm kind of really curious about in that regard is, they both use a scientific method.
Yes.
So then they're trying to map the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're basically working two very different scales of the terrain.
Yes.
When exactly does it happen where the terrain of the big gets to the terrain of the small? And where's a switch into, where exactly is a switch of quantum mechanics into gravity theory? And what's the gray area? Do you know that? Hey, Ben.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Maybe the conversation for next time. But I find that fascinating. This is, I'd like to keep talking about this because these are like fundamental questions. And
yeah, the gray area. That is a really good question. And that's the thing, is that clearly there is only one theory that works universally. We just don't know what that is.
But it's sort of like you go big, down, 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 then you hit a certain thing and then hit small, and all of a sudden, up, drop your relativity.
Yeah, and obviously the change is gradual. It's not like, you go here and then all of a sudden quantum mechanics is what's primary, and then you go really big and then all of a sudden relativity is... They're all operant everywhere, but it's just the effect of it. We can't figure out how they mesh, particularly at the beginning of the universe.
But at some point, like quantum mechanics should be to the point that you can explain why stars do what they do. You know what I mean? Yeah. And vice versa. But yeah.
And people are looking at stuff like that.
All right. Thank you very much, Mitchell. That was a great session. I think we had a really cool train of things here. I'd like to talk about more of that. I like to watch science shows all the time, so a lot of these things are they're really, really mind-bendy.
All right.
Thank you very much, and I'll see you on Sunday.
I'll see you guys.
Good night.
And then.
Good night, Mitchell.
Oh, and we'll be seeing him on Tuesday too.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's really cool. He's taking part in that. Did you ask Glenn if he wants to at some point join in, or because I know he's been doing more Tech 2 stuff.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like doing his. I'm not sure exactly what he wants to do with that, so we'll see.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Okay, so we'll go into introductions. I am Naiji Coach, level 53, pod layer practitioner. With me I have
Naiji Ben, and I think level 26 or something. Sorry, my memory's a little blank right now, but somewhere around there.
And he and I will be covering U.S. politics. I was actually thinking, Ben, on this, instead of getting into, say, journalism and some other things later, is U.S. politics is pretty big, and I want to kind of start getting our head around a bit more. It's a big bubble. So
yeah, it's I mean, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's that big at face value, because as far as what's being reported on, it's mostly just presidential and right. Even Congress, but even beyond that's really huge. It's once you start branching into the administration, all the people working in the bubble, state legislatures, mayors, the numbers get astronomically large.
I was when I started, I was oh, this is getting big, but it's good. We wanted to flip it, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
On that, I was thinking we would kind of just do a double portion of it. So I brought a lot of samples for us to do.
Cool, awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun just to mow through it. Have we read all the people in Obama's administration and so forth already?
No. Do you know who they are? If you want
to, I don't know, unfortunately, off the top of my head. I could probably research and figure that out.
Yeah, if you send it by me, we'll tag those. Probably should get them now before the change of presidency.
Yeah, the sooner the better.
All right,
definitely.
That's what I got for you. You should be seeing it now. Seeing it?
Yep, I see it. Visey, Greg. I think we look through.
Yeah, so we'll go to new ones. First new one is Lamar Alexander.
Interesting. Has even
Sorry. By Z, Lamar Alexander.
yeah, I can see in the lower right it says like George W. Bush.
Yeah.
No. Oh, it said Visey male in lower right actually.
Oh, did it? Okay. Oh no, that's actually someone else. That's Samuel Ito.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Just kind of meshed in there.
Yeah. Because these are ones that have been read a while ago, and I haven't gotten, because a lot of work, I haven't gotten into actually filling them in. I've been filling in just the new reads as we go along. But at some point, I'm going to put all our old reads in too from this bubble, so it'll be totally complete.
I see. That makes sense.
All right. What else we got here? IG Lady, Marsha Blackburn.
Nice.
Pretty classic. Again, this is probably our best place for IG Ladies. Still, not nearly as many as the dudes in there, but it's something. Because
yeah, we see a lot of Vaiji ladies in the Senate. That's definitely true. Vaiji in general in the Senate.
Yeah. Another IG lady, Donna Edwards. She's a little trickier because she has those fuller lips, but the emoting I don't think goes into the eyes. Like here on the right, you see a big smile, the cheeks move, but the eyes I don't think are being hit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really interesting because with Xenai, I mean, that's like very classic, but
yeah,
it's cool to see Baiji with some different features.
It's interesting too, like on the samples that were more well known on maybe the bigger stage, pop culture wise, there was more Xenai ladies. But as I've gotten deeper and deeper into this, they're still there, the Xenai ladies, but it's opened up into a lot more Baiji.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting the way Xenai are present in the bubble, because like as far as presents are concerned, it's been mostly like hunters, but you have but as far as like the more prominent congressmen and so forth, you see like a lot of Xenai.
Yeah. And then when you go to less well known, they drop off again. That is
yeah. They're kind of sort of in the middle. But it's weird because this election cycle, there's more Xenai. As far as they're currently still in the race, there's Ted Cruz, there's Donald Trump, and you have Hillary Clinton. So there's actually it very well could be likely that both parties nominated Xenai when we haven't had a Xenai president in like 40 years. So it's it's really interesting. I'm not sure if that's necessarily changing dynamics or if that's just like a coincidence, but
yeah, I don't know. One thing I would think, the new way that media is done has got to have some influence on that.
Yeah, I agree. Like the change in dynamics of how people consume their media and so forth, and the themes that tend to come from that, will definitely have an influence on the political sphere.
So maybe that influences.
And Donald Trump is definitely a product of that. Like in particular, you can like Beyond Mojo or anything. It's like the way he's been taking advantage of the media, and using that in his favor has definitely been helping him quite a bit.
Definitely.
Whereas Hillary Clinton, I think, is someone who's been around for a long time. We kind of expected would run for president again and so forth.
Doing good, doing U.S. politics with Ben. Oh, snaps. All right, next up, another Baiji. This one from Baiji lady from Hawaii.
Oh, cool. She recently she's one of the few members of Congress who have endorsed Bernie Sanders. So it's really cool. There's only been like six like House members or so.
Have most of them endorsed Hillary then?
Yeah, the vast majority have endorsed Hillary, like 80-90%.
How's Bernie doing in comparison to her now?
He's about a little over 200 delegates behind, so he's pretty much certainly gonna lose the nomination, but he's leading a very competitive race. I mean, he's won like 15 states so far compared to Hillary Clinton's 18. So he's definitely he's definitely showing a very strong presence in the race. I don't think he's very favored to win at all. I think it's very, very difficult at this point, considering she's gotten like I think almost like 60% of the vote. And at this late in the race, that's very difficult to make up. You have to win states by like overwhelming margins that you weren't considered to be all that favorable to win by that much. But I mean, it's still a competitive race. I mean, there's still back and forth, and either way, he's making a strong presence for himself. So
I think it's great that he's doing that, even if he doesn't win, because
like I think he's the first socialist presidential candidate to win a state. So and then he wins like 15 all at once. So that's really big deal.
It's a huge deal because it's been an ongoing thing with the conservatives, where they basically use socialism as scary word, like saying racist. A lot of times the liberals will say that the conservatives tend to be racist or things like that, or misogynist, yada yada. And the question is, obviously, is that true? So you shouldn't say it's not true. But if it is true, misogyny is definitely bad. The question is it true or not? But with socialism, there's actually a legitimate question of, is that a bad word? I mean, why is that a word?
Yeah, and I think it goes a lot. It goes back to like the Red Scare, like tensions between Russia and the United States and so forth. And also people tend to have like this one-dimensional like concept of like one-dimensional concept of what socialism and capitalism is, where it's like either you want like people tend to think of the kind of like communism, where like the state has like totalitarian like control over the way the market works, and that's not really what democratic socialism is very different, where it's actually still a completely democratic system, but it's the people who essentially have ultimate control over how the economy works and so forth.
Definitely, it's interesting because it's usually said like to scare people, like, oh, you're socialist. And so I know, like, I've looked it up, and I'm like, first of all, like a bunch of things is that socialism works in a lot, like you were saying, a lot of different ways. Next, that doesn't work a lot of different ways. But let's emphasize, it works. It works successfully in a lot of different countries. Like a lot of first world countries are socialist. And then Canada, and then people are like, well, that won't work for the U.S. And then here's the funny part.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, the United States is like 10 times bigger, but why does like the size of the country, matter?
That much?
Like, but and why shouldn't we try, like why shouldn't we try, like how is that not a good example or good evidence for the fact that we could make it work? Like even if I mean, you can always whenever you compare an experiment is run, you could always say, oh, well, this situation is different, but I mean, that's certainly evidence that this is most likely going to work, isn't it? Or at least that this most likely can work.
Or that it's definitely worth looking into. They act like, oh, you're going into the black hole of death. I'm like, what? I mean, the track record, I mean, how can you say that? Because it's like, if socialism works in so many different countries that have different kind of cultural backgrounds, they also have like lots of different ways they use it and lots of sizes of countries. So you're like saying it's a size thing. How would you even know? You didn't try. So that's one thing. But the second thing is, and this I find fascinating, the United States has actually been doing a lot of socialist stuff for quite a long time. Like
I mean, you can actually argue. I mean, we're a socialist country. I mean, you could make that argument. I mean, like people will say, oh, we define it differently. We're a capitalist country, but it's not really it's not a black and white process. Like
no, we're not a strict capitalistic. I mean, society.
Like pure capitalism and pure socialism don't exist. So, I mean, you can say every country has some capitalism and some socialism to it, because like ultimately, like if pure capitalism existed, then there would be no safety net. Corporations could literally do anything, and then the world would they would literally own and control everything, all of the resources. I mean, they would basically be our government, like that. They would know what gets done and what doesn't get done, and it would be a complete disaster. Whereas if pure socialism I'm not. It's very difficult to think about what pure socialism would be. I suppose if literally everyone, yeah, like okay, yeah. So say for example, if literally everyone earned exactly the same amount and had no incentive to do anything ever, there was no incentives at all.
Well, actually, no, that's more like communism, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the things that make socialism.
I'm just thinking about it in terms of like a spectrum, but yeah, that would be like very much so communism.
Because one thing socialism does have over it, that people that when capitalists try to like bag on socialism, it's like communism. Like no, because it does keep a safety net larger for the populace that people have to all pay into. But you can work hard and rise above other people. That's still on the board in social. In communism, it's not, which never works anyway. Because the communist.
Yeah, and I would argue communism, socialism, and capitalism are all basically on the same spectrum. Socialism is probably more, kind of more towards the middle, and then communism, which is further on one side, capitalism further on the other side.
Agree. See, to me, that's how I kind of see it. So that's why when they throw the aspersions around, like actually capitalism, it's like that's how it is. Capitalism has a track record of doing some pretty horrific shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then communism also has a terrible record. And so people are like, oh, you're a socialist. Like, wait a minute. Between those three in that spectrum you mentioned, Ben, socialism by far has the better track record.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting because like people have different definitions for these words. Like people would argue, okay, well, you can make the argument that European countries are capitalist, but then you can make the argument that we're socialist. So it's, it's I think people need to kind of get out of the headspace of like either you're one or the other and think about like the way the mechanics that like basically what the ideology represents and what that means for and how every country relates to it and how they can improve by embracing more of certain qualities or less of others. So
yeah, for sure. And then
I mean, there's definitely like a lot of merit to capitalism, because you want there to be as much like too much like government regulation in terms of too many rules and standards for how like corporations need to pay their employees and so forth can actually be a detriment. I mean, and that is true. I mean, it can't systems become more inefficient if there's too much strictness on how things are done past the point where it isn't really helping. It's just adding more, because there does become a point where too many rules can effectively cause inefficiency. However, there needs to be some very we need to have some very basic baseline standards that are actually reasonable for people who aren't able to find anything beyond a minimum wage job, for example, but are really trying to actually contribute and make a living and so forth. So like the minimum wage is a good example of this. Bernie Sanders, he wants to set it to $15 per hour because he thinks that's way more reasonable than like seven something it is currently, and that's like I think that's like one of the biggest topics covered.
Definitely, but when you're talking about it, Ben, I actually think the spectrum might have another element to it, and so maybe capitalism and socialism are actually in the middle, and they should be blended. Because seeing the most successful things from US and Europe is actually a proper blending of capitalism and socialism. With communism,
because capitalism and socialism are basically, they aren't really mutually exclusive in what they actually mean. They basically just mean two different. They basically mean two completely different things, but they relate to one another, and I think they're meant to. And in certain ways, they can seem contradictory because if you go a certain direction with one of them, that tends to produce less of the other. However, they're meant to work together at the same time.
Yeah, I think they actually are like in different sides of the spectrum, but I think that they are healthy and really should be brought together.
Yeah.
And I think further out, it doesn't work. Like if you take, like let's say this is the middle, and then on the left you have socialism, and if you go further left, you get communism. Communism doesn't work. Then you go to the right, you have capitalism. I think it's a healthy amount of being on the right. And you combine the healthy amount of being on the left of socialism with the healthy amount of being on the right with capitalism, I think you would get the best synergy. But there's another player. On the far right, I would say is oligarchy. And actually, a lot of people would argue that the United States is an oligarchy.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a lot more complicated, this, but one of the major differences between an oligarchy and capitalism is this. And it's the main difference that makes capitalism, if it's done right, fair and workable, and the other one not. In capitalism, you have to find your way in the jungle. That's the rule. But everyone's supposed to get a decent shot at the jungle. That's the thing about capitalism. You have to come up with your own strength in the jungle, but you should be given a good, decent shot at doing it.
And definitions kind of vary on what.
Real quick, let me say the difference in oligarchy. Oligarchy is the power. Power does what power does. Meaning, if you have an inordinate amount of power that actually makes it impossible for those who are not born to certain families or guilds or companies to get ahead, then that's the difference between oligarchy and capitalism. Oligarchy doesn't care. Oligarchy's like, I don't want them to have a chance. My parents made billions. I was born with billions. And I will actually take, I don't think it's healthy. They're wrong. But oligarchy's like, I don't care if the country would be better off with capitalism where everyone's given at least a shot at making their own money. I just want to keep those who are poor and the rich rich. Oligarchy is like just openly like money rules. That's a hellhole on earth right there.
Yeah, like money creates jobs. It's good for the economy. That's the life and blood of productivity and growth. You know, I mean, and to a certain extent, I mean, that is true, but only to a certain extent and only in certain ways.
You still have room for workers to come in who don't have something and put in real effort and rise up.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny though? You know what's funny about this, Ben? And when they try communism in Russia and things like that, what ended up happening, China too, it ended up actually being a mashup of oligarchy and communism. Because all that happened was people got corrupt and went around the communist thing, and they made their little, cliques of friends who were corrupt and owned everything, and they just.
Yeah, it's basically just, I mean, it's basically, communism is basically, I mean, it's either like a monarchy or it's an oligarchy. You know, I mean, it's the basic concept of like an extremely small percentage of the population have like all the power, you know.
But supposedly,
communism
is not. That it says is its tenet that everyone gets equal. That's what communism is supposed to be, but it doesn't work out like that.
Yeah. So like communism is basically, I mean, it's kind of it's kind of a misnomer in terms of like what it's supposed to mean compared to what it actually means.
That's the same. There's what actually or how it actually is applied. Because in Russia, if you read the books for communism, they actually were saying communism, like classic communism. But when they applied it, it simply wouldn't work. It ended up that oligarchs actually came in and became, big strong men, took everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really one of the major reasons that Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist is because he believes that that this is fundamentally about empowering our entire democracy. So we have proper, we can have, so we have proper political power over our current system and can thus have a say in how high the minimum wage is and have a say in what our rights are, as workers and things like that. He wants to greatly increase the number of Americans who are actually voting because he believes that you know, it tends to be it tends like as it stands now, like with I'm not sure if you're aware of this. With our Republican, controlled Congress and things like that, there's what's known as gerrymandering, where they redraw congressional districts in their favor, and they're currently in power.
Yes.
And there's a lot of voter suppression as well, where they create like voter ID laws, which very clearly and blatantly are favoring certain groups over others, when voter fraud really isn't an issue at all currently. So and that just tends to favor certain groups over others, which tend to vote for them more. But I mean, if you look at what the data is saying, and statistics, this country is actually more liberal than conservative, slightly, which means that our representation should actually be made up more of Democrats in the House and the Senate if everyone voted. But everyone doesn't vote, and there's issues with that. Yeah. And also, I mean, he just strongly believes he has the right answer, on these issues. And also another thing is that young people are predominantly ones who aren't voting. So that's another reason why. So
he brought them out some.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely helping out a lot with that.
All right, we have a few minutes here, so let's get back into.
Oh yeah, we've kind of been talking a lot about this.
That was great, though. That was a great conversation. That's what I want to do.
For sure.
Do that and drop samples. But let's drop a few more.
Yeah, we kind of saw Tulsi Gabbard and sort of went on it, but it was cool. Yeah. Zenai.
Boom. Pretty classic.
Nice.
Luis Gutierrez. IZ. Jared Huffman.
Really interesting. He's got kind of a classic, like, long face.
He does.
Like very deadpan, the cheeks.
Yes, he almost reminds me of some of the nice actors you see, except with those, more pinched eyes.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed the eyes of Phi Alpha, they look more dry looking to me. I don't know.
Right. That's good. That's a good word. All right, Vizy, Randy Holtron. Yeah, a lot of these are probably more not as well known. That's good to fill them out. One thing interesting though is the Vizy politicians tend to have this affable look a lot.
Yeah.
Watch out. Yeah. I've had to really, kind of make sure I'm not seeing a Vizy.
Yeah, they have to be really, socially strong.
Usually, yeah. Although I notice that sometimes they can get away with being a little less that when they're on those armed services committee kind of deals.
Oh yeah, yeah. When they have a lot more presence, in politically, they tend to not need that as much. But if you're running a traditional campaign, then it's competitive and so forth. Getting elected tends to require that sort of thing. Talking to lots of people, being really involved. But yeah, it tends to vary based on legal status and so forth.
Yeah, that's a good point though. Yeah, some of them seem like they have to kind of be out there more to get their spot. Other ones seem like big money kind of just puts them in there. They don't have to do that as well.
Yeah.
All right, some more in here. The Vaiji. Bam! Look at that smile.
He's got a really nice smile.
He does. I was like, that's a good smile, sir.
Wow.
I'm sure it's worked wonders for him in his career.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not. Shailene, is this the guy that was on John Oliver, who did that ridiculous amount of that seafood place where he had to keep going to get money to stay in office?
Yeah, he's the one. Yeah, I guess it's like an establishment sort of place where the congressmen have to go to raise funds, and so they're always having lunch there and eating lots of seafood. And
it was crazy. And he was saying they spend up to 2/3 of their time asking for money for their job. Think about it. They're supposed to be serving us, and 2/3 of their time they spend to get money to keep their job. What?
Yeah, they're on the phone constantly. These little cubicles. They have
it's ridiculous.
They have a whole
operation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they made them go off from the actual site because legally you're not allowed to ask for money while being on
in the Congress.
Right. So just go down the street and have it.
They have a building off site where they have these cubicles set up with the headsets and phones, and they have a handler who's there minding.
Get that dollar.
yeah, who minding, you know, what the congressmen do, and they tell them, the
Like the
handler tells them,
telemarketers.
yeah, exactly. It's totally, it tells them who the person is that they're calling, what their dossier is, and they call them and ask.
Oh,
for
and a
money.
big one is Ben, for efficiency, that in order to get your money, you had to make a certain amount of calls, right? And so because of that, you have to make a certain amount of money for each call or you'll fall behind. So they basically, he was saying, don't call anyone who's not going to be willing to give $1,000. And so that automatically means the person is pretty much affluent. So pretty much means that these people, both Democrats and Republicans, like 2/3 of their time sometimes is spent asking for money, but only from people who can afford to give 1,000 or more. So that's got to influence policy.
Yeah, because you're not even talking to the people who can't even give 1,000 or more. I mean, and they spend some time doing it, but there's just such a disproportionately large.
Yeah. And then you're beholden. I mean, basically that money is what puts you in office. So you're beholden to the people who put you in office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what do you do if you just if you're how does that not influence your decisions?
Right, exactly.
Like you can argue like how much it does, and I've seen it argued before that Hillary Clinton hasn't ever changed a view on anything because of any financial contribution, but it's like it matters to some extent. I mean, like if she was actually being completely authentic about that, she would say, yeah, I mean, it matters to some extent, but I still get the my core. I still stand by my core principles and things like that. That would actually be like more of an honest answer if that was actually going on.
So you can't answer honestly in politics. You'll never have a job.
Yeah, it's like you can't get elected if you're an honest person, because, and that's another issue, is like the media is just and just the way people follow politics is very just like they follow at face value and don't really look into what they're saying and what their positions are and what their record actually is. They don't try to really read people very much beyond just like the half-baked short pitches that they have. I understand those are important, but there's a lot more to it than how they're presenting themselves.
Definitely. All right, a few more drops. We'll call it a day. We're making good progress here. Get at least a dozen in. All right, next up we have Vaiji Evan Jenkins. Ching! Look at that smile. Ching! Like a weapon. What's up? Ah, here we go. Zevi. So Sarah Palin's not the only one. There are others.
Nice. Is she like the? Is she the second Zevi we've seen, or have we seen
maybe 4 or 5 of them? They're not a lot, but they do show up. So far, they've been pretty much all females.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
But you see, she's got that pilot face, the localized eye, but those eyes much more pinched, obviously, than an eye. So Sarah Palin's not the only one. Not that she's like Sarah Palin. I don't make it sound like that. Because what I mean, you could be a perfectly awesome Zevi. Sarah Palin not being awesome is separate from her being a Zevi.
Yeah, definitely.
That's definitely a Sarah Palin thing. IZ, classic. Seriously, this guy looks like he should be in the military. Like I've seen this.
Yeah,
guy.
he looks like he looks like some sort of athlete or some sort of
Yeah, like a coach, doesn't he? He looks like a sports coach.
Yeah, he does. He does. He's got kind of that look to him.
Sports coach, man. He's like, I'm a congressman. Whatever. All right. IZ. Sam Johnson.
He's got more of those rounder features.
Does.
Sort of.
Who else? Another Viz. Oh, look at that on the right.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got kind of that kind of a sort of shy I'm not sure what a good word is.
Maybe indignation or something, but he's like, it's like a disgust.
Yeah, it's kind of like moaning a little bit, kind of like
Another Viz. This was like a young one. This guy looks like a quarterback.
Yeah, it's funny. Like some of these Vizey have very very trim, very sheer, refined features that makes them look like they're involved in sports or like part of the military or something.
And also too is like,
I mean, not that that's like necessarily a strong indication that you're going to be in those areas, but it's
right.
It's an interesting pattern.
It is. Also, it's a case of which bubbles you're familiar with first. Because if we had gone deeper into politics earlier, then we were looking at the quarterbacks. Like that quarterback looks like a politician. But because I got familiar with the Vizey as football players first, now I'm doing it the other way. I'm like, that politician looks like a quarterback.
Yeah, totally. It's always based on what you were familiar with previously.
IG lady, another one, Marcy Cotper. Pretty straightforward there. She looks a little bit. I don't know if you know who we're talking about. Who is that, Shailene? One of the first VPs, Geraldine Ferraro. She looks a little bit like Geraldine Ferraro to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that.
Vizey, Bill Keating. You reminds me of?
Oh, Joe Biden.
Yes. Ah, awesome. Totally.
Yeah. I looked at him like that looks like Joe Biden. Yeah.
I love those people that saying riffs that I'm having like, oh, they're seeing it too, totally.
Yeah. I especially get it like on the right, but I get in both pictures.
That's how you doing?
Yeah. Just that smile is just like so it's so much him.
Vizey, Joseph Kennedy of the Kennedy family. Lots of Vizey.
Yeah, he looks like kind of like an academic or something. I don't know. I don't know.
And a little bit like an academic because there are Vizey like in chemistry and medicine. A little bit also like maybe like a journalist or something.
Oh, journalists, yeah. They tend to have kind of that very refined but kind of elegant, appearance. I don't know.
Looks very dapper.
Yep.
All right, let's go for 20. Do two more. Vizey Patrick J. Kennedy. I think he is from the Kennedy family. I'm not sure, but he's a Vizey anyway.
Cool.
Where are the Kennedys from? Is that New York or something? Because this guy Patrick Kennedy, he's from Rhode Island.
I think like they're from the Rhode Island.
Right, Northeast.
I'm not sure where they're originally from, but I think.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a Kennedy.
Yes. But all right. Victoria Reggie Kennedy. Now, Ben, I don't know if she actually is a politician. She's actually a lawyer, but she's the widow of Ted Kennedy, so I kind of thought she might fit in the bubble still.
Interesting.
So that would be a double Vizey. Ted Kennedy's Vizey. Oh, I should write that down real quick. In couples. Ted Kennedy, Victoria Kennedy.
Cool. You're collecting couples and the
couples and same-sex family members. Me and Shailene are going to be whipping that a lot.
Nice.
Alrighty. I have three more real quick. 21, James Kenny. Hey, Kenny. Vizey.
He's got a really round face.
He does. Yeah, he's got a bit of a power head, round and big.
He's a little heavier set, and he also has a really big head and some rounder features in the cheeks and stuff.
But looks a little more hangdog and, I don't know, something, as compared to, say, Z and I. They both have a Z, but not quite as...
Yeah, his eyes don't give me, like, that very, like, very, like, forward bracing energy, you know?
Yeah, not as bright either. Yeah,
not as a little more, his eyes look a little bit more, I guess in a way relaxed, more subjective, not really, upfront and unhooded.
Gotcha. Agreed. Another Vizey. This guy, he reminded me of a couple quarterbacks, and also I actually pulled that swimmer, Michael Phelps, because this guy looks, I'm pretty sure it's Vizey. Michael Phelps is down, I think, as a Zy-V, but I pulled him because on the left there, he reminds you a lot. That smile reminds you of Phelps.
Wow.
But could be just, the fact they're both subfracts. All right, Ben, last one. Here we go. Boom. Steve King. 5G.
Nice.
King.
Yeah,
It's pretty
he
standard.
looks like, yeah, really interesting. He's got a he seems to have a large eye, which is pretty typical.
He
So for
does.
Powerhead. And,
Yeah, a lot of zero. He doesn't do the smiling as much.
yeah. Interesting.
Boom. All right. That was good. We covered, had a good conversation, and we dropped all these samples I wanted to show. So we did good. We dropped 23 new samples.
Yeah, it was really cool. We had a really good discussion on communism, socialism, capitalism, and so forth. It'll be cool to have more kind of little discussions like that. I don't know. When it comes to politics, I'm like really well versed in like presidential and in some Congress. But it'll be really interesting when we get into like other areas like world politics and so forth. I'm not as familiar with, and I'll probably learn a lot just like talking about various people with you.
For myself, I know I'll find a lot more interesting having you to do it with. You know what I mean? It'd be more like, oh, cool, look. Because normally I'm like, oh, look at the king and queen of some kind. I don't really care as much. But like with you, it'd be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of the same where it's like, if I'm interested in it, there's some reason for me interested in it that like makes it way better, So
I think doing with you, it would kind of like, we'll like cover all the country, but kind of like a video game. Ah, so the leader of this country is this, and the leader of the country used to be this, now it's this.
Yeah, it's cool. And just like plot out like an entire map. It's like, oh, does he know I had like a lot over here, and like I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know how I'll be able to do it, but I'm wondering for the world leaders collage we finally do, if there's some way I can work flags in.
Yeah.
That might be kind of cool. We could
definitely do that. We can like put their faces on a map. We can put put flags next to their name or something. I don't know. There's lots of options.
Definitely, it'll be fun. All right, excellent time, Ben, as usual. Good stuff. Yeah. And so I will see you on Sunday and next Tuesday.
All right, awesome. It's been great. Look forward to our upcoming hangouts on Sunday and Tuesday. Thank you for having me, Coach.
Yay! Bye bye.